In the shimmering heyday of the 20th century, a name echoed through homes and across continents, synonymous with capturing life's most precious moments: Kodak. The company, a titan of industry, commanded an almost mythical market share, its yellow branding a ubiquitous symbol of memory, joy, and connection. A Kodak moment wasn't just a marketing slogan, it was a cultural phenomenon, deeply woven into the fabric of everyday life. The tactile feel of a film roll, the anticipation of developing photos, the crisp, vibrant hues of a freshly printed image. These were experiences etched into the collective consciousness, fostering an emotional bond between Kodak and billions. The world trusted Kodak to preserve their history, one snapshot at a time, seemingly invincible in its domain. Yet, within the very heart of this photographic empire, an unlikely revolution was quietly brewing. His name was Steven Sasson, a young, inquisitive engineer at Kodak, driven not by profit margins or market dominance, but by the pure, unadulterated thrill of scientific exploration. In 1975, tucked away in a dimly lit lab, Sasson embarked on a secret project, a quest fueled by an insatiable curiosity about how electronics could transform image capture. He wasn't trying to displace film, he was simply asking, what if? The result of his relentless tinkering was a crude, toaster-sized device cobbled together from spare parts and digital sensors. It weighed 8 pounds, recorded black and white images onto a cassette tape, and took 23 seconds to capture a single grainy photograph. This primitive contraption was the world's first self-contained digital camera. The moment Steven Sasson presented his groundbreaking prototype to Kodak executives was steeped in a mixture of awe and profound apprehension. As the first digital image flickered onto a television screen, a collective "aha" rippled through the room. The potential was undeniable, a glimpse into an astonishing future. However, the initial wonder quickly curdled into a palpable fear. These seasoned leaders, stewards of a multi-billion-dollar film and chemical processing empire, saw not a new frontier, but a direct threat. The concept of an image existing without film, without chemicals, without prints, was an existential crisis for their meticulously constructed business model. The fear of cannibalizing their immensely profitable film business overshadowed any excitement about innovation. This marked the beginning of Kodak's internal conflict, a tragic struggle between protecting the old and embracing the new. Executives, blinded by the immediate allure of quarterly profits and paralyzed by the fear of disrupting their golden goose, made short-sighted decisions. They chose to keep Sasson's revolutionary digital technology under wraps, a strategic blunder that would later be seen as a profound act of self-betrayal. They owned the future, yet they chose to bury it. While Kodak deliberated and delayed, whispers of digital exploration began to emerge from the outside world. Early competitors like Sony and Canon, though still nascent, were beginning to dabble in the very technologies Kodak held captive. Yet, the leadership remained in denial, their focus stubbornly fixed on the fading glory of film. The tension within Kodak reached a fever pitch during a high-stakes meeting, where the fateful decision was made to delay digital market entry indefinitely. The air was thick with unspoken dread, masked by corporate jargon. A disillusioned engineer, whose name has been lost to time, but whose warning echoed with chilling prescience, spoke of an impending storm, a digital tsunami that would sweep away those unprepared. His words, however, were largely ignored, dismissed as the ramblings of a doomsayer. The executives, convinced of their film fortress's impregnability, chose complacency. They had the key to the future, but they locked it away, sealing their own fate. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The world, however, refused to wait for Kodak's internal deliberations. Outside the hallowed halls of Rochester, The digital revolution was not merely brewing, it was accelerating at an astonishing pace. Consumers, increasingly tech-savvy and hungry for instantaneous results, were rapidly embracing new technologies. Competitors, unburdened by a legacy film business, launched increasingly sophisticated digital cameras, each iteration faster, smaller, and more user-friendly than the last. The market, once Kodak's loyal domain, began to shift irrevocably, leaving the once invincible giant increasingly out of step. The promised digital storm, once a distant rumble, was now a deafening roar, and Kodak, still clinging to its filmic past, found itself directly in its path. Kodak's belated attempts at redemption were often characterized by a disheartening sense of too little, too late. When they finally did enter the digital market, their offerings frequently appeared hesitant and half-hearted, lacking the intuitive design and aggressive marketing of their rivals. While their engineers still possessed unparalleled knowledge, the corporate structure struggled to adapt, stifled by years of film-centric thinking. The internal struggle between the old guard, deeply entrenched in the film business, and the burgeoning new visionaries who understood the digital imperative, intensified dramatically. Meetings became battlegrounds, strategic decisions were paralyzed by indecision, and valuable time slipped through their fingers like grains of sand. For consumers who had once held such a deep emotional connection with the brand, the feeling was one of abandonment. The magic of the Kodak moment, once a symbol of shared memories, began to feel like a relic of a bygone era. They had moved on, embracing the convenience of instant digital capture, sharing photos online, and storing them without the need for physical prints. Kodak, once the keeper of their memories, seemed to have betrayed its own legacy of innovation by failing to meet their evolving needs. The trust forged over decades began to erode, replaced by a growing sense of disappointment that the company which had invented their future had failed to deliver it. The financial repercussions were swift and brutal. Film sales, once the bedrock of Kodak's immense profitability, plummeted dramatically. The iconic yellow boxes gathered dust on store shelves as digital cameras became the default choice. The company's stock price, once a symbol of stability, began a terrifying freefall, shattering investor confidence. The once bustling factories, symbols of American industrial might, grew quiet. Layoffs became a grim, recurring reality, impacting thousands of families in Rochester and beyond, tearing at the social fabric of communities that had been built around the Kodak dream. The human cost of corporate inertia was immense and heartbreaking. The market, unforgiving in its efficiency, exacted its vengeance for Kodak's inaction and hubris. The bitter irony was not lost on industry observers. The very company that had birthed the digital photography revolution was now being outmaneuvered and outcompeted by those who had simply embraced its own invention. It was a stark, painful lesson in the dangers of complacency, a testament to how even the most dominant empires could crumble when they failed to adapt. The prophetically warned storm had arrived, and Kodak's fortress, once thought impregnable, was now besieged on all sides, its foundations cracking under the relentless assault of progress. The climax of this agonizing decline arrived with a pivotal, devastating announcement. A last-ditch effort, an ambitious and costly initiative to pivot the core business back to profitability, failed spectacularly. It was a final, desperate gamble that only accelerated the inevitable. The news reverberated through the industry: massive restructuring, the sale of invaluable patents, the divestiture of entire divisions. It was not merely a business decision. It was a public declaration of irreversible decline, a stark admission that the once mighty Kodak, the inventor of the digital camera, was on the precipice of ruin, having reached its undeniable point of no return. The precipice of ruin quickly gave way to the abyss. On January 19, 2012, the unthinkable happened. Eastman Kodak Company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It was a dramatic and emotional low point, a somber announcement that sent shockwaves across the globe. An American icon, a titan of industry, and a cornerstone of countless family memories had officially fallen. The symbolic death of a brand that once represented innovation and aspiration left a void, not just in the business world, but in the collective consciousness. The human cost was immense, extending far beyond the boardroom. Thousands of former employees, many of whom had dedicated their entire careers to Kodak, found themselves struggling, their livelihoods shattered, their sense of purpose adrift in the wake of the company's collapse. The emotional scars ran deep, a testament to the profound impact of corporate decisions on individual lives. Yet, amidst the ashes of corporate failure, a different narrative began to emerge for Stephen Sasson. The quiet engineer, who had once been sidelined by his own company, found himself increasingly recognized for his groundbreaking work. Decades after his initial invention, Sasson was awarded the National Medal of Technology and Innovation by President Obama in 2009, a poignant and well-deserved acknowledgement of his foresight. His perspective on Kodak's downfall was often tinged with sadness, a melancholic understanding of what could have been. He harbored no bitterness, only a quiet reflection on the complexities of corporate inertia versus the relentless march of progress. His personal redemption was clear. His invention had irrevocably changed the world, leaving an indelible mark on how humanity captured and shared its experiences. He was the architect of a revolution, even if his own company had failed to capitalize on it. Kodak's journey through bankruptcy was arduous, a painful and prolonged process of shedding assets, restructuring debt, and desperately searching for a new identity. The company that emerged was a shadow of its former self, yet it was also a story of adaptation and survival. No longer the dominant consumer brand, Kodak reinvented itself by focusing on niche markets and business-to-business services. They leveraged their deep expertise in materials science, printing technology, and intellectual property. The once monolithic company pivoted towards commercial printing solutions, advanced materials, and brand licensing. It was a stark transformation, a humbling but necessary evolution. The new Kodak was smaller, leaner, and devoid of its consumer-facing glory, but it was alive, finding a new purpose in specialized industrial applications. The overarching lessons from Kodak's dramatic saga are profound and universally applicable. It stands as a stark warning about the perils of corporate myopia and the relentless, unforgiving nature of market disruption. The story highlights the critical importance of embracing change, even when that change threatens existing, highly profitable revenue streams. Innovation, the very engine of progress, demands a willingness to cannibalize one's own success before external forces do it for you. Kodak's failure was not a failure of invention, but a failure of leadership to adapt, to envision a future beyond their comfort zone. Yet, within this cautionary tale, there is also a glimmer of hope, a testament to the resilience of some individuals and the capacity of an organization, however diminished, to find a new purpose. Today, Kodak is a much smaller, fundamentally different company. It no longer defines photographic innovation for the masses. Its iconic yellow logo still exists, a quiet reminder of a bygone era, but the Kodak moment has been redefined. It is no longer about a physical print from a film roll, but about the instantaneous capture and sharing of life's fleeting instants on digital devices. This evolution is a bittersweet reflection on the enduring power of innovation and the catastrophic consequences of complacency. Kodak's story serves as a timeless parable, a powerful reminder that in the ever-evolving landscape of technology and commerce, the greatest risk is often the refusal to change. The future belongs not to those who invent it, but to those who embrace it.